Both shots! Woo! How about that one?
That's our new leaders right there.
Big Silly!
University of Montevallo, 24-96.
The University of Montevallo wins its third straight title.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into the latest episode of the Rapala Collegiate Bass Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Curry. Just getting back to the office from the Collegiate Bass Fishing Championship presented by Bass Pro Shops, the 19th edition of the National Championship for the Association of Collegiate Anglers. Joining us today, the winners of that tournament, Dylan and Carter Nutt from third-ranked University of North Alabama with a two-day total of 52.36 pounds. They bested their next closest competitor by almost 9 pounds in total. Dylan, real quick, man, we're less than a couple days removed from the event taking place there at Pickwick Lake, close in town, Florence, Alabama, hometown of the University of North Alabama, to get that major victory, big stage, right there in your backyard. What's that like?
It was incredible to be able to go out there on what's been our home lake for the last couple of years, and we've spent so much time out there, and all the local knowledge helped. But to be able to win the title in front of all of our friends and family, it was really a special feeling.
Carter, I'll give you an opportunity to answer the same question, man. Just tell me a little bit about how the week played out, how y'all caught your fish. We'll get into the fishing a little bit, but just the week in general, the emotions, being close to home, right, like we said, in Florence, Alabama, not far from school, to get that victory, one of now multiple times of which University of North Alabama has won the Collegiate Bass Fishing Championship presented by Bass Pro Shops. So join that list. What's that mean to you?
Oh, I mean, it's incredible. And it makes it that much more special to do it in our hometown and in front of the university and all of our friends and family. And, going into it, we figured we could have a really good showing, but to be able to win it was just incredible. We've got a lot of history on Pickwick and doing good, winning big tournaments, but to win the national championship, I mean, that's something that's been on our minds since we first qualified at the Big Bass in October, and just to be able to pull it off is just incredible.
Dylan, let's talk a little bit next about day one. Let's just start from scratch. The way that the week set up, conditions were pretty good throughout practice, fairly consistent, warm but not too hot, stayed just below 90 degrees. Some rain leading up to the event, had current moving a little bit, of which we'll talk on whether that affected what you all were doing. But day one set the scene, and how y'all entered the tournament, what the game plan was, and how it played out on that first day of competition.
So day one of the tournament, we had gotten on a pretty good shad spawn in practice, and we were able to have a pretty good bag every morning, just running around finding where those shad were spawning and grass and stuff like that. And so we started out the morning. We were running a shad spawn, and we had got a couple bites, and they were pretty small. We ran a couple holes, and we caught two like 3-pounders, and then the next fish we caught was that 787, and that just set the day for us. And then we ran around, hit a couple of ledges, and we found one pretty good school of them, and first cast in there caught a 4-pounder, and then we proceeded to just wreck them. And by the time we left that spot, it was about 10 o'clock, and we already had 25 pounds in the live well. And we knew it was going to be a special day. And we just went from there and kept catching big ones everywhere we went. Seemed like we couldn't do anything wrong.
When you're on a day like that and you've got it rolling, you have local knowledge. I asked about it on the stage, I believe, when we were talking to you guys. But sometimes you hear people get spun out a little bit, right? They know too many spots. They're running too many areas. And you've got teams that come in that know the lake really well, and they just had a dud. Right, they had 6, 8, 10 pounds, never really came together. Maybe had one good fish hooked up, but couldn't figure it out. For y'all to get running, to get that momentum going. Carter, talk a little bit about how that helped the day progress as you figure out what's going on. You're starting to put together the puzzle for that day, not necessarily fishing past history, and for it all to play out like that. Kind of talk about how that day one in total worked for you.
Right. I mean, the big thing about Pickwick is the whole lake is really very current related, and the fish out there move around a lot. And one day one place could be good, and the next day, there may be just little ones on it. And you know, in the tournament, we only really were able to fish about a quarter of the stuff that we thought we could catch big ones on, and mainly that was really on the second day. We had a good bag early, and we were kind of rotating a lot of the same stuff, just waiting on the fish to set up, because the weather that come in that second day, it really hindered the bite, at least the deep bite, and a lot of the schools weren't really setting up that great. And so we kept rotating the same stuff, just waiting on them to set up, and they never really set up. And at the end of the day, we were able to pull up on a spot. The sun came out, and we pulled up on a place and caught back-to-back 4-pounders. And really, that there was whenever we knew that we had it won. We never had a bite off that place, and we never fished that place in practice. We were coming down the lake, and I just took a hard right and pulled in there, and they were set up, and caught them.
Let's talk some more about day 2 as it was playing out. Like you said, some storms rolled in later in the morning. They weren't originally on the forecast, and it set in across the area, brought some rain, a little bit of wind, and there was a window kind of before the storms and after the storms. It sounds like y'all were able to take advantage of both of those. So, Dylan, put some insight real quick into how that morning played out. Your boat numbers called. You start to get to your first couple spots, and what did y'all find, and what success did you have?
So the second day of the tournament, we did the same thing we did the first morning. We ran a shad spawn, and we got on one place where it seemed like there was a lot of shad there, and they were spawning on our lures, and we were able to put a couple solid fish in the boat right off the bat. And right after that, we ran around, and we stumbled on one place and caught a 4.5-pounder, and Carter lost another one, probably about 4 pounds. And it kind of made us just think, we're just that much closer to it. And we kept running around looking for some fish, and then we eventually just pulled upon a place that we'd only caught little ones in practice, and Carter caught that 820. And the crazy thing about that fish is on our Rapala scale, it weighed 8.5 pounds. And at the end of the day, we looked in the live well, and there was about 20, 6 or 7 inch threadfin shad in the bottom of it that he spit up. So it would have been something else if that fish would have kept all those shad in his live well, because I think it probably could have went close to 9 pounds on the tournament scales.
That's wild. Let's talk shad spawn, targeting bass that are feeding on shad like that. We saw it happen some at our previous stop before this at Lake Hartwell as well with the herring. These fish get so keyed in on bait, it is very difficult, near impossible, to be able to match up the right lure to convince these fish to bite. So, Carter, talk a little bit about the presentation, whether it's a specific bait that you were throwing, maybe downsizing your line. Talk about the struggle of matching the hatch and getting those fish to bite, but then what y'all were doing to be able to get them in the boat.
We were mainly targeting grass that had the shad spawning around it. You could see on the forward facing sonar that there's a bunch of shad around, and whenever you're bringing your bait out of the water, there'd be a ball of shad following it, and you could feel them as you were reeling your bait. You could feel them ticking your bait and trying to spawn on it. But really, our key baits for the shad spawn is we had a 1-2 punch, a 1/2 ounce jackhammer chatterbait, and then I was throwing a 5/8 ounce true bass shuttlecock hair jig, and that was really our 1-2 punch. That chatterbait really seemed to get a lot of numbers, and it would catch some big ones too. But that hair jig was usually, when you got a bite on that hair jig, it'd be a big one.
We're talking with Dylan and Carter Nutt from third-ranked University of North Alabama, winners of the Collegiate Bass Fishing Championship presented by Bass Pro Shops, continuing to talk about their pattern, how they caught their fish out there on the lake. Dylan, entering the tournament, every year when we come that time of year in late May, the talk is always about the ledges. They're going to be out deep. They're going to be out deep. They're going to be out deep. And I feel like, in your answer, tell me this, but more so than years past, whether it was air temperature through the spring, maybe recent rains, it did not seem like these fish were quite as summer-oriented as normal. I see the big fish come across the scales, even some of the ones y'all were pulling out. Now, granted, the tails weren't bloody as if they were actively spawning, but they definitely weren't in the process of healing yet either, and then you could also tell from some of the fish that be brought out, the heads are really big and the bodies are still a little weak and hadn't recovered from the spawn and fed up on shad for the summer. Tell me, do you think that those fish were fully pushed out yet, or was there a chance that they were lagging a little bit behind and y'all were catching fish that were in that transition phase?
Well, I definitely think that there was a big population of fish that had already moved out to their summertime holes on the ledges, but a lot of them were they weren't necessarily on those main places that everybody typically finds them. They're kind of a little bit in between, or just around the area, and we were able to find some of those places that nobody else was fishing, and that helped us out a lot. But there definitely was still a lot of fish in transition, but that's just kind of what you get with this time of the year, into May. There was definitely still some fish on the bed. I know we caught a lot of fry garters in practice, but we never caught any real good ones, so that wasn't something that we ran with in the tournament.
Yeah, it always amazes me to watch it and see everything play out, because I feel like as anglers, or maybe it's just something I'm guilty of as an angler, but I always want to be the fish. I want the fish to be more into a specific pattern than I think they are, whether it's them being on beds and they're not quite there yet, or being done spawning and being out deep like this and they're not. Just reading the conditions, things from year to year, though it's pretty cyclical and consistent, it's not always right on the nose. So following those fish, following the transitions, a lot of times in the past as well, we see the teams that are kind of in those intercepting points. They're not up shallow and they're not out on the main community holes, that when you can find something in between, that's the sweet spot. And it sounds like y'all did a little bit of that during the tournament competition. Payout for the tournament for you guys, $5,000 for first place, $1,000 ACA logo contingency, $500 TH Marine Atlas Awards power pole for the overall big bass, as well as 2,500 points to count towards the Bass Pro Shop School of the Year presented by Abu Garcia, of which we'll talk in more detail about that race in a minute. That payout right there, Carter, for a week of work, no entry fee tournament. Tell me about that.
That's incredible for a no entry fee tournament, and it really was awesome. There was actually a tournament that was the week prior that we were really wanting to fish, but it was during the off limits, and it was a $20,000 tournament, or I think it was $15,000 this year. But last year, Dylan was fortunate enough to win it, and I come in third, and we're kind of bummed that we weren't able to fish that one, but it kind of worked out that we were able to make a little bit of money and win a national championship.
Yeah, you bet. Being able to win that national title, the 19th edition of the Collegiate Bass Fishing Championship presented by Bass Pro Shops. Next year is going to be the 20th. Big milestone for anybody that can cross that stage and best that field of 200 elite teams out there on Pickwick Lake. Let's talk about, as I mentioned, Bass Pro Shop School of the Year presented by Abu Garcia. University of North Alabama entered that event there close to home at Pickwick Lake in third, trailing just a little bit behind Carson Newman. Most likely outside of striking distance to Montevallo, who ended up having, I believe, their top three teams are going to be inside the top 25. Same with you guys, though. You get your top three finishing teams, as I look at it here. We'll have the official standings out later this week. First, third, and 25th. You guys finished in first, another team in third, another in 25th. Dylan, that week right there, Carson Newman's next highest finishing team, who you're trailing behind in second, was 43rd. I think they ended up having three in that 40 to 60 range. So not quite sure yet how that's going to shake out on points, but for y'all's goal to be able to track down second and finish as high as possible, you've got a shot at doing that possibly once all the math shakes out.
Yeah, absolutely. We're gonna try our hardest up at the next tournament at Saginaw Bay and try and get two teams in that top 10 again. And hopefully if we can do that, maybe Carson Newman will stumble a little bit and we'll be able to jump them and be up there close to Montevallo. But they seem to be a hard team to beat, especially, it seems like every tournament they got 2 boats in the top 5 or the top 10. So that's something that's really, really hard to compete with.
I will say this: the guys on our team that finished 25th, they were some knuckleheads. And the first day, they decided to only bring in 3, but it was for 15.5 pounds. So if they could have had 2 more that first day, it would have been a whole lot closer to 3 in the top 10. Which that was our goal coming into it, was to have 3. Really, to have 3 in the top 5 was our goal. Just with it being on our home lake, and really we had what we believe was our 5 best teams to be fishing that tournament were fishing, and it all worked out how it was supposed to, but it really was incredible, and to have a first and a third, that's just unbelievable, and that's all we could ask for.
Yeah, triple points on the line there at Pickwick. Very valuable points, rather, here at the end of the season. Just the one event remains on the Bassmaster College Series, as y'all mentioned. I believe that each of the 2 teams ahead of you, if I have it right, have both already maxed out. So y'all are able to earn points at which they won't. So there's ground to be made up as we project forward in those finals. So we'll have standings out this week following the ACA National Championship. Those will come out here in the next couple days. Then, following that Bassmaster event up north, we'll get the final rankings, everything finalized and locked in for the 23-24 Bass Pro Shop School of the Year presented by Abu Garcia. Carter, like we've mentioned there talking to Dylan, there's a chance that you track down Carson Newman. What's got to happen up there when you'll go up to Michigan to be able to do that? And if you were able to finish second to a Montevallo team that will have just capped off their 4th straight title, no small task to finish second to them, what would it mean for y'all's club?
Oh, I mean, it would be incredible for our club. And of course, we want that top spot, but this year it's not going to be possible. But our goal next year is the same goal as this year, is to track down Montevallo and beat them. They've had their fair share of wins, and it's time for someone to take it from them. That's our goal.
I believe that's everybody's goal as they go out there, be able to finish the year ranked number 1 in the Bass Pro Shop School of the Year presented by Abu Garcia. We'll get the next season underway right as the current season finishes here in the next couple days, and it's wild, the quick turnaround, but I love it. It's going to happen, and there'll be a shot for everybody to start fresh and go earn more points coming up. But like I said, points update coming out this week. Another points update following that last event, of which that'll be the final points update for the Bass Pro Shop School of the Year presented by Abu Garcia. So a lot of big things happening in college fishing over the next 10 days. And then for the ACA, it's on to the next season, and we'll be ready to put out the preseason poll. We'll review this past season at the same time and just continue to get ready for our first tournaments that'll happen next fall, of which you can find all of that information regarding Arc Trail, the Bass Pro Shop's Collegiate Bass Fishing Series at collegiatebasschampionship.com. Dylan and Carter, thanks for joining us on the phone today, and best of luck at anything y'all got coming up, as well as congratulations again on the national championship.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Kyle.
Welcome to Minnow King. How can I help you?
Everything looks good. I'm friggin' starving, man. Been spawning all morning.
Ugh, TMI, bro. What do you want?
I'll take a Crush City freeloader and gizzard shad.
Anything to drink.
Water.
Pull ahead, please. Welcome to Minnow King.
We're gonna have what he's had.
Yeah, throw me in a net BLT, too.
Pull ahead, please.
Calm down, quit feeding so much.
Hey, man, I'm trying to, man. If you
If you overfeed him, he's gonna hide under a log.